What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Content is Profit. Start of a new week. Best day ever. The day that we're recording here. Monday. Let's start with momentum. Fonzie has some stories. He's been trial testing a new program that we announced last week. I think there's still a chance if you want to go to bistros.co/monetize 101 free challenge from Fonzie. And today we'll be chatting a little bit about some of the wins and some of the feedback that he's gotten from the people that did it last week. And there's a few that are starting today. And also there is something else that I want to announce down the road. But Fonzie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I love the energy.
Hey, always. I'm glad that you're back co-hosting with me, man. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling.
I know. I missed it. I miss podcasting.
Yeah, it's like one of those things.
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of odd doing it remote at the house. I need to build a little bit of a setup in here, you know? I gotta get myself a microphone.
Hey, it's fine. We went from like no setup to, office to then like another setup to then no setup at all, COVID. And now it is what it is, man. As long as we get this message out there and we support people, I think that's the most important thing. That's what we tell everybody.
That is true. If you're listening to me right now and you're like, oh, I need a mic too to start. No, you can start right now. You don't need the mic.
Yes.
I just want the mic because I'm vain and I like to hold the mic or hold something while I'm talking so I can get distracted. That's why I got my talking balls right now.
The talking balls.
if you're only listening to this, I got some of those like Chinese balls that you put in with your hand and rotate. Whatever. This could be this.
No judgment.
Let's keep going.
It's very ironic. We mentioned that on the setup since we own a podcast studio. It's funny, like people show up and they might not be on the budget to go record there or do whatever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's figure out a way that you can do it from home. And they're like so surprised sometimes that they're like, wait, what? You don't want me to come here? I'm like, yeah, but I mean, whatever it takes to put your message out there. And there's a lot of solutions and possibilities, and we want you to get publishing.
Principle number one of content is profit. Quality of the message over quality of the production any day. That was literally the first principle we arrived to after doing, I don't know, a couple hundred of episodes.
A couple hundred, yeah. It took us some time.
I'm pretty sure that framework was pre episode 100.
No, that was 45 live, challenge 45 live. But great transition, Fonzie, on challenges. Great transition on challenges. Yeah, we've last year we talked about a little bit about what else can we do to support our creators, and obviously the content ecosystem continuously evolves, continue to change. There's new demands, new formats, new things, and it can be a little overwhelming for a lot of people. Obviously for Content is Profit and me and Fonzie, podcasting has been that vehicle to keep us consistent. But at the same time, a few months ago, we had a conversation about the resources that we're putting into the show, or like, where is the audience really listening or tuning in? And there's different theories when it comes to podcasting, clipping, and different things. And like the intention maybe that is put behind a piece of information that you share online, depending on the platform. Right. So with that in mind, Fonzie put out there a fun offer, which by the way is completely free, which he's been helping people one-on-one to produce that specific type of content that resonates with them, but also offers them results, right? Move the needle forward. So I wanted to, tag along and bring it back and be like, Fonzie, explain to me a little bit of that challenge. And to the people that are listening, right? We've had a couple of people go through right now. Last week, if you haven't checked those episodes, we plugged them in, and there's people that are applying to do that. Like I said, it's completely free. bistros.co/monetize. So yeah, we're here to discuss it and see, who's this for. Let's go.
Absolutely. I mean, first thing is there's a lot of advice obviously out there. But one of the things you will hear all the time is like, you gotta post valuable content. So that opens a question of like, okay, what is valuable content? And, you will hear there's a lot of strategies. And I always say this with anything else, like, I'm sure you can find ways that like work that are different than what we're going to be talking about as well. right? So people have different strategies, whatever, you do the one that you think you are going to be able to execute for the longest amount of time, stay consistent with. Those are the ones that are going to give you results, right? And by results, I mean, could be positive, could be negative. At the end of the day, it's just information. You're going to get information, and you're going to use that information to craft your next strategy and keep going at the end of the day. So,
which, by the way, like, before you continue, I want to put a little asterisk. Everything works. Like, that's the crazy thing. Everything works if we do it long enough. If we, talk to the right person, we like hone in on the message. Everything works. It's just, I think a lot of people get very confused or maybe excited sometimes of creating a new type of content, right? And when we talk new types of content, it could be like YouTube specific content or like short form content that is not coming from a podcast, like a podcast, a short podcast, clips from a podcast. Like there's many, many formats. And within those, there's subsets of, talking head, scripted stuff. Like there's many avenues, and it can be very easy to become overwhelmed when you are the creator, right? Because you see the messages out there where it's like every single piece of content, there's like somebody saying that is the secret piece of content that you need to be creating, right? And I think that's why I feel like we resonate with a lot of people, but also it took us a while to find not only our voice, but the fact that we've seen many cases that everything works at the end of the day. And we have to adapt to like, how can we execute? How can our teams execute on a consistent manner to move the needle forward? So there you go, Fonzie. Yeah. Back to you.
It's a matter of clarity. And I will say, I will not quite challenge what you just said. I do, to an extent, I do believe what you said of like everything works, but, and there's like a caveat in there, a big but, like big butts and again, I'm kidding. There's a big but there, which is now I lost my train of thought.
There, you said that there's a caveat, and I think there's a caveat. I know where you're kind of going. Yep,
I got it. Which is like, sure, some work, but like some will work better than others. Some will work faster than others, right? And the way you get, speed or quality of results, that difference is going to come back to you, and whether you're taking in the lessons from implementing and using that to move the needle forward, right? And I'm going to give a great example for us was if we multi-purpose our content for the podcast, and we did it for a very long time, and we got results, right? Were they the fastest results that we wanted? Probably not, right? They gave us results. They help us build the business to where we are at the moment, right? But looking back, and I'm like, I wish we would have got a little bit faster results, etc. There's a lot of cues in there that we could have taken from the data that we were getting, and maybe changing a little bit of our strategy and doing, X, Y, Z, something a little bit different, right? Yeah. And again, that's obviously a personal example, but you can look at your data, you can look at your content, and you can probably see some trends. It's like, okay, well, sure, I'm getting some sort of views, I'm getting some sort of conversations, but if you want to, speed up conversations or increase views or X, Y, and Z, like whatever the goal is, there's probably going to be information that is going to allow you to make a decision to move towards that goal. And that's honestly what the challenge is kind of about, right? Gaining that clarity. So go ahead, and then I'll dive into this.
No, I think a lot of people is trying to decide, and we've been on this, and the last couple of months we've chatted about this, right? It's defining like what success looks like to you when it comes to content, right? That's one. For example, me and Fonzie disagreed on specifically podcast clips because maybe I saw it as a sales enablement tool versus direct traffic from social media, right? Because I was having a little bit more conversations with people, and they'll research you, right? They'll go on your socials, and they'll see maybe that you're frequently publishing, and you have like this piece of information that maybe you said on the show, And maybe it relates to that. And then they saw that, we're like, okay, automatic, my trust goes up because these guys have been publishing. Maybe what they talk about, it resonates, but it's in that one specific moment. The place where Fonzie was coming from was like, hey, we should be putting a little bit more effort in creating a specific type of content, answering specific questions about, the people that we're helping. Right. And that's a whole, that's a whole course on messaging and how we tackle that versus how we were tackling the podcast, because the podcast, the relationships that we build through the show are the one-on-one relationships that we develop. And then at the end of the day, those are the ones that become business opportunities, right? On the back end. So then I saw the clips as a way to support that, because it's a competitive advantage over other shows that might not have it, right? For example, or maybe we use some of those clips to write other pieces of content or emails or things like that, right? Mm-hmm. Everything has a piece, but at the end of the day, you have finite resources. We have finite resources. It's like, how do we assign those resources and those priorities based on what Fonzie said on the goal that you might have for your content, right? The goal that you might have for your business and so on. So a lot of the people that started coming to our world, maybe they didn't have enough time for a long show to, pick up and, the specific, podcast clips that maybe now a lot of people do, because there's many tools that can do that for you. Right. So it's like, okay, how do we tackle the conversation in a different way? How do we still add value? And that's what the idea that Francie brought into Bezos a couple of weeks ago, and we've experimented. So I'm excited, man. So you had a couple of people go through the 5-day challenge. You pitched it to me as in I need you to do it, execute it, which I will do. Right. But the for the people that, maybe want to be involved in this and they go to bizros.co/monetize. Maybe they're like, oh man, 5 days. It's not just 5 days, it's just a few minutes a day. Right. And one-on-one. And we're doing this. This is not going to be free forever, just so you know. So walk us through, what's the main problem that we solve, Fonzie?
Yeah. I mean, the main problem is people throwing spaghetti over the wall, right? Lack of clarity in terms of what do I post? How do I create it? What type of content am I going to create? Again, a lot of people just see content as they know is necessary, because I think we're now at a stage where everybody knows okay, your business is a way to advertise. It's a way to, again, like you said, kind of sales enablement tool. People are going to do their research. Yeah. And if you don't have any content, it's probably going to be a little more difficult for somebody to make a decision on whether they want to work with you or not. But the thing is, okay, people don't really know exactly, okay, what do I do? What type of content do I create? How do I generate opportunities from this? So that is what the challenge is meant to do, right? Is get you that clarity, whether that is on the macro strategy level, or if you already have some sort of macro strategy on a micro strategy level in a little more granular, strategy per type of content that you're going to create, right? And I'm going to separate both, give you a quick overview. Macro would be, the strategy, the constraints that we put in there would be your niche, right? Who you're talking to specifically, and also what are you going to be talking about, which a lot of people, has a bunch of names. A lot of people call them pillars, your content pillars. We have a process where we help you design all those based on the problems that you solve and the desires that the person that you're trying to help has. On a micro level, it would be more the strategy. The constraints there would be, okay, what are the formats of the content that I feel good creating that also have good potential of getting people's attention, right? What is the, some scripting frameworks that I can use and all that stuff. And obviously, how do I generate opportunities for this? What are my call to actions, etc. So those are the two kind of strategies that we work on. The challenge is going to be one or the other. We don't have time to work on both. So if you don't have a macro strategy, we work on that. If you don't have a micro strategy, we give you clarity on that. Yeah. So it's very exciting, honestly. I love doing this. It's been a lot of fun. So I'm going to walk you through. I don't know if you have anything to add, but I'm going to walk you through the kind of obviously not the nitty gritty of everything, exactly what we do. But just kind of the top top overview. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think like me, like if I look at this as a consumer, right? Like not Luis, the business owner, but like Luis, the consumer, the content creator, right? I personally love to tinker and experiment with a lot of things, right? And if you see my drive with content, there's like a few family half-baked vlogs type, I have a personal YouTube channel that I created a while back called Luis That Creates, just like my Instagram, to put the personal projects in there. Like I love experimenting on that side. My Instagram, I done, some comedy skits, some meme stuff, but nothing like really sticks. And as far as like production, like I on all of these things that I've tried, and just to put it out there, like this is not because I want to become a full-time creator. I'm already a full-time creator with the podcast, and that's our main platform, right? I like to test different formats to see what sticks that I like doing. Because if I don't enjoy doing, and I think like that's a huge one for a lot of people, it's not going to happen at the end of the day, right? So I've learned through that process that I love getting out there on experiences and capturing the experiences, but I do not enjoy going through that footage and creating the structure of an episode, for example. There's editors that can do that for you. So I've done it to understand how do I, Luis, create. And I think a lot of people do not get to a point where they can experiment with different forms of content when it comes to their business, because there's resource constraints, there's time constraints, there's also an urgency where it comes to like transform that content into profit, right? And I think that overwhelm is what, with this challenge, we're gonna help you move forward and get you excited about a type of content that you enjoy doing, but also gets the results. So that's what like I'm so stoked about, because the feedback you told me last week from one of the people that went through the challenge was like, for them was a no-brainer, and they got so excited to continue and work on their craft as a creator, because today, if you're the one on the mic, you are also a creator. That's why we call you business creator, right? Business Creator Club, if you want to be part of the community, FYI. But anyways, those are my 2 cents. And on my side, I think I have a little bit of the luxury that we created obviously a media company, and we can experiment with these types of content. But again, for us, podcasting remained the main pillar because it's what helps us continue to move forward. We enjoy doing this. I mean, I cannot be happier than Fonzie's back with his podcasting balls. For those listening, please go watch the video. We need to put like an affiliate link or something for people to get them. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for this.
Yeah. So to clarify something, obviously, whatever strategy you put in place that we mentioned before, there needs to be a decent test size for you to know if it actually works or not. You cannot be like, okay, I'm going to try this, try it once, doesn't get the views that you wanted, and then you're like, oh, well, that didn't work. Like we separate pretty much like the things that we can track in 2 different buckets. You got your, the indicators, they have a name. I think it's like, let's say your active indicators, the things that you, with your own effort, you have input in and you can control. And then you have your lag indicators, which are like after the thing is done, you get results. Those are views. Those are the things you cannot control, for example, right? Like when you post a piece of content, after a week, you check to see how many views you got on X piece of content. That is a lag indicator. Your active indicator would be, I'm going to publish a piece of content every single day, for example. Doesn't have to be like that. Again, based on your resources, but hypothetically, every single day, that is your active indicator that you're making sure you're keeping track of, right? And let's say you're going to do this strategy for 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, you got to check, okay, did I post it every single day like I said I was going to do? Yes. Okay. Based on the test size that I have now, what are my lag indicators? And then you can, make your conclusions, make your hypotheses. It's a lot like literally the scientific method that we learned back in school. It's pretty cool, honestly, like working that way, just because it gives you structure when you're trying to things. Now, going back to strategy, macro level, like my brother said, all it is a constraint on the decisions that you're going to make based on your resources. And we're going to base everything that we're going to do in the challenge based off of that. What are the resources that you have? Resources, mainly money and time, right? Two different sides of the same coin. So what do you have? Do you have money to invest in a team? You don't have money to invest in a team. Do you have the time? Are you time rich, time poor, money rich, money poor? We'll figure it out and then go from there, right? Who are you talking to specifically? We got to nail that down. That is like half of it. You need to know exactly who you're talking to. And then we're going to go and figure out what are those buckets, right? Those pillars that you need people to get into. Now, the cool thing about this challenge is that you get homework, right? It's not just let's jump on a 20-minute call and whatever. And don't be scared with the word homework. This is just actions for you to take so we can actually move the needle forward. And at the end of the challenge, you have a clear strategy to follow for the next, 6 weeks. We recommend 120 days, right? Like that'll be absolutely amazing. When we were working last week, gave a lot of clarity to the person that I was doing the challenge with. I will say they did lack a little bit of their offers, or so they were a little bit confused on like who they were necessarily serving. So just putting these constraints into place gave them so much clarity, and it becomes so much easier to then create the content, because when you get an idea, you can just run it past a filter and be like, okay, am I talking to this person? Am I into one of these pillars? Yes, no. If the answer is yes, make it. If it's no, how can I frame it into one of these things, right? And then make it work for you. After the challenge, I did give him a little bit of the micro, a little bit of taste, on the micro strategy in terms of, formats, hooks, etc. Like, how is the content going to look for? This is a person that I'll say they're not very used to creating content on an educational type of content, right? They're what they've been doing is more of a lifestyle type of content. So, it opened his mind to be like, wow, I don't need to be just a talking head. Sure, obviously talking head is one of those formats, but then how do you make your talking head compelling enough, right? It's a strategy around your talking head to get people's attention. We talked about hooks, right? Super important. First 3 seconds of your video, that the hook is going to give you the opportunity, right? If the better the hook is going to have a better opportunity to impress people than with the value that you're actually delivering. Then we define what is value, right? Like in the most objective way, what is value? Some people say like, oh, I make them feel inspired and all that stuff. But like from a business standpoint, objectively, value is results. Can we actually help them achieve results, solve some sort of problem? So how do we include those into our content? We talked about, the structure, scripts, like what are things that we can say, what type of language do we create the script with and whatnot. Call to actions, what do we offer? How do we generate conversations? So it was a lot, I will say. This challenge, let me rephrase. It's a lot, but it was a blast. I did run a little bit longer doing this challenge just because I was having such a blast. But at the end of the day, I was like, okay, what is going to give, the person that does this challenge, what is going to give them the best results? And that is focus. So we're going to either focus on the macro or focus on the micro, depending on where you're at. So again, if you want to be a part of this, just go to bizarre.co/monetize. And we'll get your application. We'll probably send you a little form that we need with some information before you get started. And then we'll book the first call. And we'll go from there, 15, 20 minutes a day.
Right after you hit that big orange button on that page, there's going to be a few questions that we need you to answer, just to help kind of also on our side structure what the challenge would look like. I think we have about 5 people now. We're keeping it super limited. I think we have maybe a couple of spots left. There's people that haven't finished their little 5-question survey. So if you're one of them and you're listening, please go ahead and finish it so we can get you started. If not, we're going to close it out probably in the next couple of days to make sure that we can deliver it to the best of our ability and support you guys in the best way possible. There is another opportunity too. Let's say you're like, Luis, I feel like I'm not quite ready for this. Stay tuned in the next couple of days. There's going to be something starting on the 15th, more as a group environment, but not as detailed and one-on-one attention like Fonzie was saying. So just stay tuned. I'll put the link right in the description if you want to check it out. But take advantage of this opportunity. It's gonna be fun. We've seen the faces and the result of the people that have gone through it, and it's massive clarity and excitement, I think, to continue to do it. Like, how many times do we go online and we try something and maybe it's like, oh man, like you end up more disappointed than anything. This is the complete opposite. So Fonzie, dude, I'm stoked that
I wanna add something else. I wanna add something before we head out, which is, the promise of the challenge is not here with my podcasting balls. The promise of the challenge is not you're going to get 10K followers in 5 days or whatever. Like, the promise of the challenge is a recipe for improvement, right? This strategy, what it is a recipe for improvement on what you're doing. So if you are stuck at, I don't know, X amount of views, or, you're following, or at more than the following and the views, I like to judge it by opportunities and conversations, right? If you are stuck in there, this is a recipe to improve that, right? Because then after you get the strategy, all you need is the test size, which is your commitment and your discipline towards executing that strategy. And then after that period of time, you're going to go back and you are going to analyze it, right? Did my content get shown to more people, and did they engage? Did I have more conversations? And we go back to the drawing board. Does it work? Yes, let's keep doing more of the same. Didn't work? Okay, where did we fail flat, right? Was it, the gathering attention through the hooks, or was it through maybe in the middle of the video, the structure, etc. And then we go back to the drawing board and you do it all over again. But at the end of the day, it's going to need commitment and discipline for you so you can get the test size and actually see some results. But again, the promise is improvement. You can always be better.
That's right. CBB, baby. You can be better. Fonzie, what's like one thing that they can do today, right? Like maybe step one of the thing that we're going to be doing. Like, what's something that they can start looking into if they want to start, today, apart from going to bizbros.co/monetize?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to say two things. First would be to go look at your own analytics on your content, right? And see if you have any big outlier on the content that you have created, meaning, 5x, 10x what you usually get on your content, and be like, okay, why did this content work? How was this different? Like, what happened here? Maybe it just was because somebody that you made the content with, they shared it on their profile too, and then you just got a bunch of views, but that's going to give you a good base on like, okay, well, maybe people are more interested on these things. Like, you can break it down. The other thing that I would do to start is just create a list of the content creators that you like. They don't have to be in your space, just so you know, just people that you like their content, you like consuming their content, and that also you see that they're having, good results with their content, because that's a great way to start analyzing what are some things that you can do with your content as well that you can implement, right? Maybe they have a format that you're like, oh man, I love this. It's like, okay, well, why don't you adapt that to your business? That could, be part of the strategy and give you an edge, right, when you're creating the content. So those are the two things that I would do. First of all, just look at my own thing, kind of like analyze it, what works best, what had, the best results, try to figure out why, and then go and make a list of all these people that I'm like, okay, I can get inspiration from them. I can gather ideas. I can, break down their content and learn from them so I can implement it in mine. That would be definitely step number one. And 1.2.
It's 1 and 1.2. That's awesome. All right. Well, if you want to get more of that and more of Fonzie on a one-on-one basis, completely free, by the way, go to bizros.co/monetize, fill out the form. Legit. As we're recording this, I see a couple more people applying for it. So super excited.
Nice.
Fonzie, there you go. You got some, calls you got to make. yeah, I'm very excited that, we're elevating, what on how we can support you apart from podcasting that everybody knows. So if you're still interested, let us know. But yeah, and all this is obviously going to be present in Business Creator. So businesscreator.club. Join us every Thursday at 11. We have open office hours. We jump on and we answer questions on the 6 levers. By the way, the first video completely free once you get in there in the community. So excited, man. Thanks for joining me, Fonzie. Thanks for texting me and being like, what are we talking about today? Let's do this.
I know. It's fun, dude. I missed it. It's fun doing the podcast. I just need, I've been figuring out the time with the baby. That's it.
Yeah, it's fine.
I just got to strategize around the baby's nap time.
Yeah, we'll make it work. We're making it happen. So awesome, man. All right, guys, with that said, go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform at BizRosco on social media, and go to businesscreator.club or bizros.co/monetize for Fonzie's one-on-one challenge. Baby, let's go.
Come join me. Let's go.
All right, take care, guys. Bye.